Back on Earth, ordinary citizens adjusted to their new reality. Grace Adams walked through a park in Chicago, remembering how just a year ago, she had been one of millions of secret participants in the Phoenix Protocol. As a data analyst, she had helped create the false information fed to alien surveillance. Now everyone knew her role. A young boy pointed at her as she passed. "Mom, that's one of the Phoenix people." Grace smiled. The term Phoenix people had become a badge of honor for those who had kept the secret for so long. In schools across the planet, children learned the true history that had been hidden from previous generations. They studied how the crashed alien probe in 2017 had given humanity advanced technology, and how world leaders had made the decision to hide Earth's rapid advancement. From her office on the moon, Admiral Catherine Nelson watched the explorer's departure on a monitor. The ship activated its dimensional drive, creating a brief flash of light before disappearing into faster-than-light travel. "Another milestone," she said to Admiral Heather Powell, who stood beside her. "They'll reach the border of unknown space in 3 days," Heather replied. "What do you think they'll find out there?" Catherine shrugged. "Whatever it is, we're ready." Earth's fleet now patrolled the entire solar system openly. The 500,000 warships that had shocked the fractions were constantly being improved. More were under construction. Earth had learned its lesson. Peace required strength. In a small ceremony at the White House, President Wright presented medals to Richard Clarke and Olivia Grant for their role in the deception that had saved Earth. "Your ability to keep Zithkar talking while we activated our fleet was crucial," she told them. Richard accepted the medal with a smile. "I'm just glad I never have to pretend we're surrendering to anyone ever again." That evening, Jack Miller sat on the porch of his Montana farm, looking up at the stars. He had been allowed to retire properly this time, his service to Earth complete. A small ship flew overhead. Regular civilian space travel was now common. His grandchildren played nearby, building a model of an Earth warship. They lived in a very different world than the one he had grown up in. They would never know the fear of hiding or the weight of secrets. Earth had changed forever. The species that had once thought themselves alone and vulnerable now stood tall among the stars. The universe had learned an important lesson: never judge by appearances. Behind Earth's seemingly peaceful exterior had been the heart of a warrior, waiting for the right moment to reveal its true strength. And any future would-be invaders would see 500,000 reasons not to make the same mistake the Vraxians had made. 1 year after the failed Vraxian invasion, Earth celebrated its emergence as a major galactic power. The anniversary was marked by ceremonies worldwide. People gathered in city squares to watch the impressive display as 5,000 ships from Earth's now public defense fleet performed a flyover in perfect formation. President Samantha Wright stood on a stage in Washington, D.C., addressing not just her nation but the entire planet. 1 year ago, we revealed the truth that had been hidden for generations. Today, we stand as equals among the stars, respected, and yes, even feared by those who once thought us weak. The changes across Earth had been dramatic. New technologies, once kept secret for defense, were now improving everyday life. Medical advances from the space program extended human lifespans. Energy systems developed for warships now powered cities with clean, nearly unlimited energy. In orbit around Earth, the massive space station Freedom served as headquarters for Earth's new diplomatic corps. Ambassador Frank Harris had returned from his mission to the Galactic Concord with formal recognition of Earth as a sovereign power. The other species were shocked by our victory over the Vraxians, Frank explained during a briefing. Some were terrified, others impressed. All of them now want relationships with Earth. The Vraxian hegemony itself had collapsed after news of their defeat spread. The 7 alien species that had made up their empire broke away, forming a new democratic coalition. 3 of these species had already signed trade agreements with Earth. Captain Michelle Rodriguez prepared for humanity's most ambitious mission yet. Her ship, the Explorer, would venture beyond known space, seeking new allies and potential threats. "Final checks complete, Captain," her first officer reported. "We're ready for departure." Michelle nodded. Begin launch sequence. The Explorer was the first of Earth's new diplomatic science vessels. While heavily armed like the rest of Earth's fleet, its primary mission was peaceful contact with new civilizations. 1,000 similar ships were under construction in the shipyards around Jupiter. 2 weeks after the battle, Earth was a changed world. The truth about the Phoenix Protocol was now public knowledge. People learned that the secret space program had been hiding in plain sight for decades. Regular citizens discovered that their neighbors, friends, and family members had been part of humanity's greatest deception. Ambassador Frank Harris prepared for humanity's first official contact with the wider galactic community. As Earth's new representative, he would travel to the Galactic Concord, a loose alliance of 15 spacefaring civilizations. His ship, the Diplomat, was escorted by 50 advanced warships, a show of strength that could not be ignored. "Are you ready, Ambassador?" asked President Wright during their final briefing. Frank nodded. "As ready as I'll ever be. Our intelligence from the Vraxian prisoners has been extremely helpful. The Vraxian fleet had been thoroughly defeated. Admiral Zithkar and his remaining loyal officers were now prisoners of war. Most of the alien crews had surrendered without a fight once they saw the hopelessness of their situation. Surprisingly, some Vraxians had asked for asylum. They did not wish to return to their homeworlds. General Lisa Jackson oversaw the processing of these potential defectors. "Why do you wish to stay?" she asked one Vraxian officer named Krell, the same mid-level diplomat who had once treated human negotiators with contempt. "Our leaders lied to us," Krell explained. "They told us humans were primitive savages who needed to be conquered for their own good. Now I see that was false." General Jackson studied the alien carefully. "And you expect us to trust you?" "No," Krell replied. "But I can provide valuable information about other threats in the galaxy. The Vraxians are not the only conquering force out there." This matched what Major John Peters had already discovered. As head of alien intelligence analysis, he had been interviewing prisoners for days. The picture they painted of galactic politics was troubling. "The Vraxians have been bullying smaller species for centuries," he reported to the President's Security Council. "They're essentially galactic thugs, taking resources from worlds that can't defend themselves." "And now that we defeated them?" President Wright asked. "Word is spreading fast," John replied. "Our victory has already reached at least 3 other star systems. We're becoming something of a legend." On the prison ship holding Admiral Zithkar, Colonel Susan Wright continued her interviews. The once proud admiral had finally started talking. "You don't understand what you've done," Zithkar told her. "By defeating us so publicly, you've made yourselves a target for others." "Others like who?" Susan asked. "The Vraxian hegemony is just one power among many," he explained. "Some are far worse than us." This information was immediately relayed to Ambassador Frank Harris as he prepared for his mission. His ship was equipped with the best defensive systems Earth had developed, just in case. As the Diplomat prepared to leave Earth orbit, crowds gathered to watch the historic moment. Screens around the world showed the sleek vessel rising into space, accompanied by its impressive escort. Frank stood on the bridge, watching his home planet grow smaller below. "Set course for the Galactic Concord headquarters," he ordered. His navigation officer nodded. "Course set, Ambassador. The journey will take 6 days using our fastest dimensional drives." Meanwhile, back on Earth, the integration of captured Vraxian technology accelerated humanity's already impressive capabilities. Scientists studied alien ships, weapons, and communication systems. Engineers adapted the best features to improve Earth's defenses even further. In Montana, Jack Miller returned to his farm for the first time since the invasion began. His cover identity was no longer needed, but he found he missed the simple life. Walking through his fields, he looked up at the night sky and saw it differently now. Those distant stars were no longer just points of light. They were places humanity would soon visit. His secure phone rang. It was Admiral Nelson. "Jack, we need you back," she said without preamble. The diplomat has sent back its first reports from the Galactic Concord. Things are more complicated than we thought. Jack sighed and took one last look at his farm. I'll be there in 3 hours. Earth's victory had changed everything. The planet was now a recognized power in the galaxy, but with that recognition came new challenges and dangers. The next phase of humanity's journey to the stars was just beginning. Listen to this, he told his colleagues, playing a decoded message. They're in complete panic. Their commanders can't believe how we hid our capabilities. The voice of a Vraxian officer came through the speakers. How could they have built this fleet without our knowledge? Our surveillance was thorough. Another voice replied, it's impossible. They must have had help from another species. Benjamin smiled. The truth was even more impressive. Humanity had done this alone, keeping the secret across multiple generations. On the Northern Star, which had pretended to be Earth's most advanced ship, Admiral Powell received the surrender signals from over 3,000 Vraxian vessels. She opened a communication channel to all Earth forces. This is Admiral Powell. Accept all surrenders. Disable any ships that continue to resist, but minimize casualties. We want prisoners, not martyrs. The battle, if it could be called that, lasted less than 20 minutes. Out of 10,000 Vraxian ships, 6,000 surrendered immediately. 3,000 were disabled after attempting to fight. Only 1,000, led by the stubborn Admiral Zithkar, continued to resist. Zithkar's flagship tried to make a run for the edge of the solar system, accompanied by his most loyal forces. They fired continuously at the human blockade, hoping to create an opening. Captain Laura Phillips led the response team that intercepted them. Target their engine systems only, she ordered. Let's end this without more bloodshed. Her ships executed a perfect pincer movement, surrounding Zithkar's remaining fleet. With precision fire, they disabled the engines on ship after ship until only the flagship remained mobile. Colonel Susan Wright, Earth's leading expert on Vraxian culture, requested permission to communicate directly with Zithkar. Admiral Powell granted it. Admiral Zithkar, Susan began, her image appearing on his command screen. Your situation is hopeless. Your remaining ships are disabled. You have nowhere to go. How? Zithkar demanded. How did you hide all this? Susan's expression was calm. The day we detected your first probe 70 years ago, we knew someone was watching. We decided then that Earth would never appear weak or vulnerable again. Every nation united behind a single purpose, to build a defense that no one would expect. She paused before delivering the final blow to his pride. You thought we were primitive, because that's exactly what we wanted you to think. You never saw our real technology because we kept it hidden in pocket dimensions your sensors couldn't detect. Zithkar stared at the human woman in silence, finally understanding the magnitude of the deception that had defeated him. Susan continued, Now will you surrender, or must we disable your ship as well? The Admiral looked around at his bridge crew, saw the defeat in their eyes, and made his decision. The hour given to the Vraxians ticked away in tense silence. On the Earth flagship, Admiral Heather Powell prepared for every possible response. Her tactical officers monitored the alien fleet for any sign of movement. 15 minutes remaining, Admiral, her second-in-command reported. Admiral Powell nodded. Keep all weapons systems ready, but do not fire unless ordered. Throughout the solar system, Earth's massive fleet held position. The ships formed a perfect web around the Vraxian forces, leaving no path for escape. Each human vessel maintained perfect formation, a testament to years of secret training. On the main Vraxian battleship, Admiral Zithkar faced a mutiny. Many of his officers wanted to surrender, while others demanded they fight to the death. Our forces are divided, Commander Vex reported. 7 of our sub-commanders have already signaled they wish to accept the human terms. Zithkar slammed his fist against the command console. Cowards. We cannot show weakness to a lesser species. With respect, Admiral, Vex said carefully, the evidence suggests they are not lesser. They have superior numbers, technology we don't understand, and they knew about us for decades while we knew nothing true about them. Before Zithkar could respond, alarms blared throughout the ship. One of the Vraxian battle cruisers had broken formation and fired its main weapons at the nearest Earth vessel. The human ship's shields absorbed the blast completely. Then, with surgical precision, the Earth vessel fired back. The Vraxian cruiser's weapon systems went dark, but the ship remained intact. This single exchange triggered chaos. Some Vraxian ships attempted to surrender, broadcasting emergency signals. Others launched desperate attacks against the human fleet. Earth's response was measured and controlled. Attack ships were disabled with precision strikes. Surrendering vessels were quickly contained by specialized human ships that projected energy fields around them. Chief Communications Officer Benjamin Stone worked in the heart of Earth's command center, intercepting and decoding Vraxian transmissions. His team had studied their language for decades. Admiral Zithkar faced the most difficult decision of his long military career. His fleet of 10,000 ships, once seeming overwhelming, now looked tiny compared to the human armada surrounding them. The tactical display showed human vessels everywhere, their weapons all aimed at his forces. "We should attack immediately," urged Commander Vex. "They may have numbers, but our technology must be superior." Zithkar wasn't so sure. If they built this many ships in secret, what else might they have hidden? On the space station, Richard Clark and Olivia Grant waited patiently. The Vraxian delegation had fallen into confused argument among themselves. Richard's communication device buzzed with an incoming message from President Wright. "The Artemis battle group is moving into position," she informed him. "Captain Laura Phillips will demonstrate our capabilities if necessary." Richard acknowledged the message with a slight nod to Olivia. They had planned for this moment for years. Admiral Zithkar finally made his decision. "We will not be intimidated by this display. Launch the Vanguard attack force. Target their largest vessels first." 1,000 Vraxian ships broke formation and surged toward Earth, their weapons powered up, glowing with energy. In response, Admiral Nelson gave a simple command. "Captain Phillips, you have permission to engage." The Artemis battle group consisted of 50 advanced destroyers led by Captain Laura Phillips. Her ship moved forward to meet the Vraxian attack force. Laura had trained for space combat her entire adult life, though the public had known her only as a commercial airline pilot. "All ships, defensive pattern Delta," she ordered. "Prepare to demonstrate weapons capability level 2. The human ships formed a wall in space, directly in the path of the oncoming Vraxian vessels. As the aliens came within firing range, they released their first volley of energy weapons. The blast streaked toward the human ships. None connected. The energy beams seemed to bend around the Earth vessels, diverted by invisible shields. "Return fire," ordered Captain Phillips. "Non-lethal demonstration only." The human ships fired in perfect unison. Instead of explosive weapons, they released a wave of energy that washed over the Vraxian fleet. Instantly, the alien ships froze in space, their engines and weapons disabled. On the main Vraxian battleship, panic spread as reports came in. "All Vanguard vessels report complete systems failure." "How is this possible?" demanded Zithkar. "Their technology cannot be this advanced." Commander Vex stared at the sensor readings in disbelief. "The energy signature doesn't match anything in our database. It's technology we've never encountered." Back on the space station, Richard Clark approached the stunned Vraxian admiral. "That was just a demonstration, a small taste of what we can do." Admiral Zithkar's voice shook with rage. "You deceived us." "Yes," Richard replied simply. "Just as you plan to deceive us with false promises of peace after surrender. We've intercepted your orders to exterminate humanity once we submitted." Olivia handed him a data pad showing the translated Vraxian battle plans. Zithkar couldn't deny what was written there. Throughout the solar system, more Earth ships moved into position. William Cruz, the former schoolteacher, led his battle cruiser alongside 500 others to form a defensive line around Mars. Jack Miller's squadron completed their blockade of the escape routes. Lieutenant Daniel Ford's scout ships darted between the larger vessels, gathering intelligence on the Vraxian fleet. Admiral Nelson opened a direct channel to Admiral Zithkar. Her face appeared on screens throughout the Vraxian fleet. Your Vanguard ships have been disabled, not destroyed. Their life support systems remain functional. This is a courtesy we extend, despite knowing your plans to show no such mercy to us. You have 1 hour to order all your forces to stand down and prepare for escort out of our solar system. As the message ended, the full Earth defense grid activated. From Earth to beyond Pluto, energy fields connected the human ships, creating a web that completely entrapped the alien fleet. The display was magnificent and terrifying. They'd been building this for 70 years, Commander Vex whispered. Since our first scout ship. How did we miss this? Admiral Zithkar had no answer. He only knew that the easy conquest he had promised his superiors had just become the greatest military disaster in Vraxian history. The hour began to count down. Admiral Zithkar rushed to the viewing window of the space station. His 4 eyes widened in shock. Where there had been empty space moments before, thousands of human warships now appeared. They materialized like ghosts, becoming solid, their metal hulls reflecting the sunlight. Impossible, he whispered. Our scans showed nothing. Richard Clark stood calmly beside him. Your scans showed what we wanted them to show, Admiral. Across the solar system, Earth's hidden fleet revealed itself. Around Jupiter, 5,000 ships emerged from dimensional pockets. From Saturn's rings, another 10,000 appeared. More vessels rose from hiding places on Mars, Venus, and Mercury. Deep within Neptune's atmosphere, the largest contingent of all appeared. Over 300,000 warships of various sizes. Lieutenant Daniel Ford piloted his scout ship near the front lines. He had spent 15 years training for this moment. For the last 5 years, he had lived in a pocket dimension with his entire crew, waiting for the signal. Now they were finally visible again, part of the greatest fleet humans had ever built. All systems operational, reported his navigator. Formation is perfect. Daniel nodded. Keep position. Wait for Admiral Nelson's command. On his display, he watched as more human ships appeared everywhere across the solar system. The count rose rapidly. 100,000, 200,000, 300,000. They kept appearing until they numbered 500,000 vessels, completely surrounding the Vraxian fleet. On the flagship hidden in Neptune's atmosphere, Admiral Catherine Nelson stood before her command console. Status reports flowed in from every battle group. She opened a channel to all Earth ships. This is Admiral Nelson to all Phoenix forces. Maintain positions. Weapons hot, but do not fire unless fired upon. We are here to defend, not to start a war. Back on the space station, Admiral Zithkar turned to Richard, fury in his eyes. What deception is this? How did you hide such a fleet? Richard's expression remained calm. It wasn't easy. We've been building this response for 70 years. 70 years. Zithkar couldn't believe what he was hearing. When we first sent scout probes, Olivia Grant stepped forward. That's right. We detected your first scout ships in 2017. We recovered one that crashed in the Pacific. The technology we found inside gave us everything we needed. Richard added, every probe you sent afterward was fed exactly the information we wanted you to see. We showed you a weak Earth with minimal space capabilities. Meanwhile, Olivia continued, we built our real fleet in secret, using dimensional pocket technology reverse-engineered from your probe. On Earth, President Wright addressed the world. Screens everywhere showed her face as she explained the truth to a stunned population. Citizens of Earth, today I can finally reveal what generations of governments have kept secret. When aliens first surveyed our world decades ago, we decided not to show our hand. Instead, we prepared. The Phoenix Protocol was put in place by my predecessors. Millions of you have participated without knowing the full truth. Those strange government contracts, the massive budgets for infrastructure, All of it went to building our defense fleet. Back in space, Jack Miller, the Montana farmer, commanded a squadron of 50 destroyers near Mars. His ships moved into blocking positions behind the Vraxian fleet, cutting off their retreat path. All units in position, his second-in-command reported. Jack nodded. Hold steady. Let's show them we mean business. In the command center deep beneath Neptune's clouds, Admiral Nelson received a transmission from Earth. President Wright's face appeared on her screen. Admiral, you are authorized to proceed with Operation Starshield. Show them what humanity can do. Catherine nodded. Yes, Madam President. She opened a channel to the Vraxian fleet. Her message was broadcast on all frequencies. This is Admiral Catherine Nelson of the Earth Defense Force. Your fleet is surrounded. We have you outgunned and outmatched. We offer you one chance to withdraw peacefully from our solar system. Any aggressive action will be met with overwhelming force. On the main Vraxian ship, Commander Vex turned to his supreme leader. Admiral Zithkar, our sensors now show 497,328 human vessels surrounding us. They all have weapons locked on our position. Zithkar stared at the display in disbelief. The human ships were so numerous that, from his vantage point, they literally blocked out the stars behind them. The trap was complete. The hunters had become the hunted. The day of surrender arrived. On Earth's largest space station, Richard Clark prepared to sign the official documents that would hand control of the planet to the Vraxian Armada. Admiral Zithkar had finally agreed to attend in person, believing there was no threat. Richard wore his best suit for the occasion. Olivia Grant stood beside him, dressed formally as well. They exchanged a knowing glance as the alien delegation approached. "Are you ready?" Olivia whispered. Richard nodded slightly. "Born ready." The Vraxians arrived with a small security detail, still believing humans posed no danger. Zithkar stood nearly 8 feet tall, his gray skin gleaming under the station lights. "Let us proceed," the alien commander said. "We have many planets to manage." While the ceremony began, ordinary people across Earth were transforming into something else entirely. William Cruz kissed his wife and children goodbye in their small Arizona home. His 10-year-old son looked confused. "Why do you have to go to work today, Dad? The aliens are taking over." William smiled. "That's exactly why I have to go, son." He pulled out a small device from his pocket and pressed his thumb against it. It glowed blue, confirming his identity. "Be good for your mom," he said, then walked out the door to his truck. Instead of heading to the school where he taught history, William drove to a remote mesa. A patch of ground slid open as he approached, revealing a vehicle elevator. He drove onto it and descended into darkness. Minutes later, William Cruz sat in the captain's chair of the battlecruiser Defiance, dormant for 15 years, while he lived as a school teacher. "Systems check," he ordered as his crew took their positions. Many of them had been grocery clerks, mail carriers, and office workers just hours before. "All systems green, Captain," responded his first officer, who until yesterday had been a dentist. William nodded. "Prepare for dimensional shift on command." Similar scenes played out in hidden facilities across the planet and throughout the solar system. People who had lived ordinary lives for years or decades returned to their true roles as Earth's defenders. In orbit around Jupiter, Commander Alan Prescott supervised the activation of 5,000 warships hidden in the dimensional pocket space around the gas giant. These vessels had been constructed in secret over 50 years, using technology that the Vraxians didn't believe humans possessed. "Status report," Alan called out. "All ships responding," his lieutenant replied. "Power systems at full capacity. Dimensional shield stable." Alan checked the synchronized countdown on his display. 17 minutes until Phoenix Protocol completion. Prepare all ships for immediate deployment. Back at the surrender ceremony, Richard Clark was deliberately stalling. He questioned minor details in the agreement, requested clarifications, and suggested small changes that meant nothing. The Vraxians were growing impatient. Enough delays. Admiral Zithkar finally snapped. Sign now, or we begin planetary bombardment. Richard smiled apologetically. Of course, Admiral. Just one more thing. He glanced at his watch. 2 minutes remaining. On Earth, President Wright sat in the underground command center beneath the White House. Multiple screens showed hidden military installations coming online around the world. Another showed the surrender ceremony. All Phoenix units report ready status, announced General Martinez. The president nodded. Send the activation signal. A simple message went out through quantum channels undetectable to Vraxian technology. Phoenix rising. Authorization code. Humanity stands. In his ship near Neptune, Admiral Catherine Nelson received the message. It's time, she told her crew. Disengage dimensional shields on my mark. 3, 2, 1. Mark. At the surrender ceremony, Richard Clark was about to sign the document when his earpiece buzzed. He heard a single word. Done. Richard put down his pen and stood up straight. The confused Admiral Zithkar started to speak, but Richard interrupted him. Admiral, there's been a change of plans, he said calmly. Earth will not be surrendering today, or ever. Zithkar laughed. Your defiance is pointless. You have no defense. Richard smiled. Actually, we do. Look outside. The large viewing window of the space station suddenly filled with the sight of hundreds, then thousands of warships appearing out of nowhere, their weapons aimed directly at the Vraxian fleet. For 3 weeks, Earth put on a convincing show of surrender. Richard Clark and Olivia Grant met with Vraxian representatives aboard a neutral station positioned between Earth and Mars. The aliens sent a mid-level diplomat named Krell, showing how little they respected humans. Your mining operations on the moon must cease immediately, Krell demanded during their 4th meeting. All resources belong to the Armada now. Richard nodded seriously and made notes. We need time to safely evacuate the workers. Krell laughed, a harsh clicking sound. You have 3 days. We are being generous. After each meeting, Richard and Olivia reported back to President Wright. These briefings happened in a special room swept for bugs every hour. They believe we're weak, Richard said. They think we're stalling out of fear, not strategy. President Wright looked tired but determined. Good. Keep it that way. Phoenix Protocol is proceeding faster than expected. On screens across Earth, news channels showed scenes of people protesting the surrender, then gradually accepting it. Government officials made speeches about a new era of cooperation with the aliens. Meanwhile, strange movements happened out of sight. Jack Miller, the Montana farmer, hadn't seen daylight in 2 weeks. The bunker beneath his property extended deep underground, connecting to a vast tunnel system. Hundreds of technicians worked at computer stations, while Jack oversaw the weapon systems coming online. Power output at 93%. A young engineer told him. Better than projected. Jack nodded. Keep it quiet. No signals they can detect. Similar scenes played out in hidden facilities worldwide. In the oceans, enormous underwater bases activated. In the mountains, concealed hangar doors prepared to open for the first time in decades. Supreme Admiral Zithkar watched Earth from his flagship beyond Mars. His second-in-command, Commander Vex, seemed troubled. Something feels wrong, Vex said. Their surrender comes too easily. Zithkar dismissed the concern with a wave of his hand. Our intelligence is thorough. Humans have barely reached their moon with permanent bases. Their Mars colony has fewer than 300 people. They have no space combat capabilities. But the signals we're detecting are exactly what we expect from a frightened species preparing to be conquered, Zithkar interrupted. Their primitive satellites can't even detect our scout ships around their outer planets. The scout ships Zithkar mentioned were indeed watching Neptune, Jupiter, and Saturn, but they saw nothing unusual. The gas giants appeared empty and quiet. This was by design. In reality, inside Neptune's atmosphere, enormous structures had been hidden for 40 years. Admiral Catherine Nelson stood on the bridge of her command center, watching as thousands of ships powered up their engines in perfect sequence. The pocket dimension technology worked flawlessly, keeping them invisible to Vraxian sensors. "Status report," she ordered. "All battle groups report ready," replied her communications officer. "Dimensional shields holding at 100%. The enemy remains unaware." Catherine allowed herself a small smile. "Begin final countdown sequence. Synchronize with all solar system battle groups." Back on Earth, Olivia Grant was given a tour of what the Vraxians believed was humanity's most advanced warship, the Northern Star. In reality, it was deliberately designed to look impressive to humans, but primitive to alien eyes. "This is your weapon system?" the Vraxian observer asked, clearly amused by what he saw. "Yes," Olivia said, trying to appear embarrassed. "It's our most advanced technology." The alien made notes, not bothering to hide his contempt. Olivia bit her tongue, thinking of what was coming. That night, President Wright addressed the world one last time before the official surrender ceremony, planned for the next day. "Citizens of Earth," she said, her face solemn on screens everywhere. "Tomorrow we begin a new chapter in human history. I ask for your trust and patience during this transition." The speech contained a coded message that meant something very different to those who knew. Phoenix rises at dawn. In his Montana bunker, Jack Miller heard the message and began the final activation sequence. On the far side of the moon, a massive door opened in the surface of the crater Daedalus, revealing a launch bay that had never been on any public map of the moon. The Vraxians prepared to claim their easy victory, completely unaware of what waited in the darkness. The massive alien ships appeared suddenly at the edge of the solar system. There was no warning. One moment, the space beyond Pluto was empty. The next, over 200 enormous vessels hung there, their metal hulls gleaming in the distant sunlight. Earth's detection systems picked them up immediately. Alarms blared in every space monitoring station across the planet. Within minutes, military bases worldwide went on high alert. Regular television broadcasts were interrupted with emergency messages. People rushed home from work, gathered their families, and waited for news. Richard Clark was eating dinner when his secure phone rang. As Earth's top diplomat, he knew a call at this hour meant trouble. "Clark speaking," he answered. "Sir, this is General Wilkins. We need you at headquarters immediately." First contact scenario. This is not a drill. Richard's fork dropped to his plate. He had trained for this, but never truly believed it would happen in his lifetime. "I'll be there in 20 minutes, he said. Across town, Dr. Olivia Grant was already at her laboratory when the alert came through. As the leading expert on theoretical alien communication, she had spent her career preparing for this moment. She quickly gathered her research materials and headed for the United Nations Space Commission headquarters. The alien fleet remained motionless for 12 hours. People around the world held their breath, waiting. Social media exploded with theories, fear, and excitement. Religious leaders called for calm. Military forces quietly moved into position. Then the message came. It flooded every communication channel simultaneously. Television, radio, internet, even private military frequencies. The aliens had hacked Earth's entire communication infrastructure with ease. On screens worldwide, a strange creature appeared. It had gray skin, 4 eyes, and spoke with a deep, rumbling voice. Translation software quickly converted its speech to human languages. "People of Earth, I am Supreme Admiral Zithkar of the Vraxian Armada. We represent a coalition of 7 advanced species. We have studied your world for decades. We know your strengths and weaknesses. We know you have no significant space defense. You will surrender your planet and resources within 30 Earth days, or we will destroy your civilization. There will be no negotiation. Compliance is your only option for survival." The message played on repeat for 1 hour before all screens returned to normal. In the underground Situation Room beneath the White House, President Samantha Wright met with her crisis team. Military generals, intelligence directors, and scientific advisors all shared the same grim expression. "What are our options?" the president asked. General Martinez shook his head. "Madam President, our space capabilities are minimal compared to what we're seeing. Their smallest ships are larger than our biggest space stations." "So we have no defense?" she asked. Richard Clark and Olivia Grant sat quietly at the end of the table, exchanging a brief look. "We should attempt communication," Richard suggested. "Buy some time." President Wright nodded slowly. Then she said something unexpected. "General Martinez, activate the Phoenix Protocol." The room fell silent. Most people present had never heard of this protocol. General Martinez's face showed surprise, then understanding. "Are you certain, Madam President? Once initiated, there's no going back." "I'm certain." Authorization code Wright 7 Delta Phoenix. The general nodded and left the room. President Wright turned to Richard and Olivia. "You two will lead our response team. Make contact with the aliens. Pretend to negotiate surrender terms. We need to stall for 3 weeks." "What's happening in 3 weeks?" Olivia asked. The president's expression remained neutral. "Just buy us the time. The public should believe we're preparing to surrender. The aliens must believe it too." As Richard and Olivia prepared to make contact with the Vraxian fleet, strange things began happening across Earth. In small towns and big cities, ordinary people received coded messages. In a farm in Montana, Jack Miller opened a letter he'd kept locked away for 15 years, then walked to his barn and uncovered a hidden elevator. In an apartment in Tokyo, a college student named Akira Tanaka removed a false wall in his closet, revealing a sophisticated communication system. In a beach house in Brazil, Maria Dias said goodbye to her confused parents and drove away, following coordinates she'd memorized years ago. The invasion fleet had no idea what was coming.